Good day, everyone. Meteorologist Mark Mullner here. Thanks for joining me for this edition of MeteoMark's Weather Wintry and Tropical Edition. Yeah, we're going to add a little tropical here. We do have a tropical wave that's approaching the Lesser Antilles over the next 24 to 36 hours. That is going to be traversing across the entire Caribbean as we head Thursday, Friday, and into Saturday as well. So it's going to bring some showers to Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, and eventually meet up with the tail end of our North American front here towards December 9th and 10th. You can see it combining forces just around Belize and Honduras here. Now, we follow that front. This is the big focus here over the next several days. A first low forming and moving towards Chicago, and secondary low development here in eastern Ohio. It seems like the European model is back to what it was showing over the weekend with snow potentially on the backside. Could this actually bring the snow back into the Ohio Valley, into parts of the eastern Great Lakes in eastern Canada? We'll get into all the details as well as your full winter storm outlook. Let's get into it. All right, so starting off here with the European model, you can see what's going on here. We have our Ohio Valley and eventually the Appalachians low. That's going to be spreading some showers and some snow showers in the higher elevations here. It's not going to amount to too much, but we could actually see areas above 2,000 feet in particular get at least a couple inches here. Mountains of eastern West Virginia, those are going to be the big points here. Actually, we could see some snow here across parts of upstate New York and Pennsylvania early on Wednesday as well. So that starts to pull away. Our next system kind of pushing in here to the eastern Great Lakes for December 7th. So as we get into Thursday here, that kind of pushes to the east. Very light precipitation. You can see here across south central Canada, that next low pressure system. Now watch what happens here. This is what we're going to be looking for. We have some energy coming out of the Four Corners region, and we have this energy up here across south central Canada. Most of Canada looks pretty nice, though. High pressure building in here as this low bombs just east of Newfoundland here. Now watch what happens here. We have that high pressure camped out along the east coast. We have our Colorado low really start to form here. This upper level low retreats over Hudson Bay. This allows this system to pull to the north. So that's what's going to be pulling this system here to the north. You have the first low pressure system here eject on the back edge of this right to the eastern side of this trough. So here it is. You can see pushing up towards Chicago. So you know this is going to drag some very warm air up here into the Ohio Valley initially. So that low pressure moves across Michigan. Now, you're going to have some very warm air push up into parts of Ohio, the eastern Great Lakes, all the way up into the northeast. Now, look what starts to happen here. We have that secondary low development. This is something that the European was hinting at over the weekend, but it flipped back to showing a full-blown blizzard up from Chicago on northeastward here. Not to say that won't happen, but let's see what the European does here. Low pressure, 986 millibars. This is December 11th at 1 a.m. So essentially, this is Monday morning. Could the rain be changing to wet snow on the backside here from Columbus, Cleveland, London, Ottawa, these areas? Could we see that? Well, it's quite possible with a storm track like this with the secondary low development. Let me just back that up just a second. So this 978 millibar low bombing over Ontario here, this could be a rain changing to snow scenario and lake enhancement near Cleveland. So this track would put, things would be icing up pretty rapidly here. And as you can see, this pushes into eastern Canada, but it moves at a very record pace here. So this will be out of air in no time with high pressure building in for December 12th and 13th and 14th. You can see things get really quiet, but there it is. There's our next piece of energy diving south. Canada looks really quiet, but here across the southern plains, this is where things will be really getting active. And I'll show you momentarily on the GFS how this compares to the European model. This low pressure looks like it's really going to gain some moisture, and that classic El Nino really starting to take effect here. Look at that. We could be looking at some very inclement weather here across Texas, but that looks like the only area as we head towards mid-December. Look at the exception up here in Hudson Bay. So our GFS model, there is that Ohio Valley system as we continue to go on time. Some wet snowflakes mixing with the rain showers here across the Ohio Valley. That will be pushing towards the Appalachians as we head during the early morning hours. I think the mountainous areas, especially above 2,000 to 3,000 feet here, stand the best chance of getting the snow accumulations, which we'll go over momentarily here. But that, snow showers as far north as Binghamton, Albany, parts of the Hudson Valley. And look at this. This is pretty interesting. You might see some, very a light dusting here across parts of the Northeast. It will be kind of on the wet side, though, towards 1 p.m. on Wednesday. So maybe getting us a little bit in the holiday mood here. Nothing to really write home about. And look at out here across parts of the eastern Great Lakes. Another burst of snow as we head towards Thursday morning. Maybe an inch or two. Quick inch or two across upstate New York. That fizzles pretty quickly, though. And there on the GFS, here is our next system showing up. You can see here's North America. Lots of moisture flowing in here from the south. And as we continue to go out in time, that heads up. You can see the low pressure heading up towards parts of Michigan here as we continue. And lots of moisture is kind of showing some convective activity all the way up to Cleveland here. So let me just back this up. The GFS is much warmer, continuing to be further west. But if you notice on this model trend, it's not as far west as it was a couple runs ago. So it's kind of in this corridor here, still not showing, the tremendous changeover that the European model was further east. But you can see low pressure has been wobbling a little bit to the east here, still changing over to snow as we head towards 4 p.m. on December 10th here. So there's the rain snow line moving back into parts of Kentucky, Ohio, and quickly changing into Cleveland as well, Buffalo, as we head towards 1 a.m. on December 11th. And there is the Adirondack. So this will be a rain to snow change. It's just showing the European model is showing more of a prolonged snow event on the backside. And then, of course, we get the lake response quickly to the back, and another clipper low here for the 12th into the 13th. You see our next system diving south here across the southern plains. So that's where we're going to start seeing some inclement weather here across Texas, although it's not showing as strong on the GFS as it was on the European model. Now, I want to draw your attention here because we can go a little bit further out here on the GFS. Look what's starting to happen here. All this tropical moisture that's helping us with this El Nino pattern. Look what starts to happen. The Appalachians really start to get in on the act of some of this moisture as it streams into the colder air. We have a cold high retreating towards the northeast here. Could this be the start of a coastal system? Look at this. Too early to say. I mean, you're talking 12 days out here. This is like eternity. This is 276 hours out. So I really caution you, but look at this is an interesting solution. It does still look a little bit too warm for significant accumulations. And there you have another low pressure moving up to the west towards December 21st here, the week of Christmas, kind of getting us into some snowy pattern here just behind it. Now, here we go with the upper air pattern, that trough moving eastward, replaced by a ridge as we head towards Friday. That's going to push to the northeast, helping to push our low to the northeast like that. There's the base of the trough forming our next low pressure system here in the southern plains, Colorado area. And look at how it pushes that northeastward here. So that's where we're going to see that pattern where we see that wraparound snow late Sunday into early Monday. But watch how quickly wow, look at this massive ridge building in behind it. But I do caution you, look what's forming behind it here in the Four Corners. Could it be possible that this ridge moves northeastward and we set us up the potential here for maybe an East Coast snowstorm? We'll keep an eye on it here. All right, so here's our European model. I wanted to show you the precipitation here on the back edge of that storm. So there is that first low pressure bringing a snowstorm up through parts of Iowa, on northern Missouri here. That heads up towards Chicago. And the secondary low development, this is pretty interesting. Usually you just see along the U.S. East Coast, but there it is pushing up along Ohio. Kind of having a hard time where this is going to solidify, but I did want to make note here. Oh, there we go. So there is that big line of convection with the system. This is a side of the system I just wanted to mention because we could have a big severe weather outbreak here as we head this weekend here, later Saturday into Sunday morning here across the southeast. Wanted to make some very big mention of that, but there it is. Yeah, it doesn't, on the backside there it is towards Monday morning. Cleveland, Akron area, Detroit. Yeah, you could be getting some heavy snow here on the backside according to the European model. And that pivots into northwest Pennsylvania and western New York there. Look at that. That's pretty intense. 970 millibar low pushing up across eastern part of Canada. Now the Canadian model here it is. Very similar to the European run here, pushing snowfall on the backside of it into Indiana and parts of eastern Michigan as we head into Sunday night. And watch this, pivoting into eastern Ohio, southern Ontario, western New York, and Pennsylvania there as we head into early Monday morning next week. So it could get very interesting, rain changing to snow here across the Northeast. All right, so total liquid equivalent precipitation here as we head through Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. There's a Pacific Northwest getting the lion's share of, that's quite a bit, 3 to 5 inches plus there. And then as we get our weekend storm kind of forming here, you can see here across the east, look at that heavy precipitation, rain, and then changing to snow here. That's on the order of 2 to 3.5 inches there across the Ohio Valley and eastern Great Lakes, and there across the southeast as well. And as we head into next week, there's that Texas storm as we head into closer to middle part of December. Things could be getting really stormy here across the southern plains. All right, so taking a look at liquid equivalent precipitation, this is through Wednesday and Thursday, looking very light here. Some of this falling is some snowflakes, but here we go into the weekend. Sunday in particular, look at that, racking up. This is a lot of precipitation here. Now, a majority of this in Cleveland, 3 inches, Erie, Pennsylvania, 3 inches. This will be falling as liquid rain, but some of this on the backside here will be falling as heavy wet snow too on the backside. So I think there stands a good chance that we could see at least advisory criteria snow on the backside of this, if not maybe some areas warning criteria. So snowfall accumulations here, let's look at this. So the European model, this is through Wednesday. There's the eastern mountains of West Virginia. Europeans not going overboard with this. Pretty realistic here. There's some lake-enhanced snow with our next clipper with the warm front moving in. So maybe up to an inch here across northern Pennsylvania, upstate New York. Get us a little bit in the holiday mood. And then as we head towards the weekend, here we go. Yeah, this is kind of interesting. European model, even with the backside of this, is not going crazy. So, you know, it's pretty realistic here, although look it up here into Ontario and Quebec. This is where we're going to get into the big time snow. Still some time that could pivot to the south, but look at the snow belt areas in northwest Pennsylvania, western New York. You're likely to get up to that 8 to 12 inch mark. Cleveland showing about 2 to 3 inches. We'll keep an eye on it here. This is a developing situation. So if we take a look at snowfall here across the country, North America for that matter, there's that big area across central Canada up there getting upwards of a foot. West Coast, look at that. Cascades heading into the Rocky Mountains, Colorado. Quite a bit in the way of snowfall. And there's our weekend system spreading across the plains, parts of Iowa, upwards of 6 to 10 inches. And then look at that across southeast Canada. This could end up being a pretty big blizzard up here, especially northwest of Ottawa and Toronto, where it could get upwards of 30 to 40 inches of snow. So we'll have to keep an eye on it here, especially the eastern Great Lakes. Definitely some lake enhancement wrap around behind it. So if you want to take a look at the GFS snowfall amounts, here it is, showing a little bit more impressive here in eastern West Virginia, closer to 6 inches here on the GFS, western New York as well with that clipper, couple inches. And there it is, just north of Chicago. GFS is much warmer with our weekend system. We'll have to keep an eye on it here. And then next week, another system piling more snow northwest of Chicago here across parts of Iowa, northern Missouri here. Look at this, down into the panhandle of Texas as well. As we get next week, we get that big low pressure system meeting up with some tropical moisture. I want to make mention here, here's Friday. This is really far out, so a lot is definitely going to change. But there's our coastal low that I was showing you earlier. Look at that. That could be quite a bit in the way of snowfall if that did materialize. Not to say that's going to happen. So starting off with the European model here for your tropical update. There is our tropical wave just east of the Lesser Antilles here. As you can see, as we head towards December 7th here, the morning of December 7th, you're going to have quite a bit of shower activity, thunderstorms moving through. I'll get into just how much rainfall you could be looking at here, but there it is, pushing towards the west. Towards the 8th and the 9th. It's a very long, drawn-out area of low pressure here from the eastern Caribbean. You can see funneling moisture as far west here as Nicaragua. So that's quite a moisture fetch here. You can see the first wave heads inland here with Nicaragua. We could see some showers swing up towards Jamaica towards December 10th here at 7 p.m. But look at this. There's the tail end of that frontal boundary I was telling you about in North America that could really get cranking here, could combine forces with our Caribbean low tropical wave. And yeah, this could spell big flooding trouble here for Central America. I want to warn you all of this. Belize area down through just southeast here towards Honduras. This could be pretty detrimental here. I'm going to go over rainfall amounts. I'll see just how much we could be looking at here. And it kind of just gets stalled here. These stalled out frontal boundaries this time of year can really start to funnel the moisture northward too. Look at across South Florida as we go out in time. That also feeds in. There's two areas this could feed into. Look at South Florida here, Central Florida, and then eventually up here towards Texas. So your tropical update here on the GFS. So it's showing up pretty well here. Let's just scroll over towards the Lesser Antilles as we head into Wednesday and Thursday here. You can see there is our tropical wave. Here it is. It's actually a little bit slower here on the GFS. Here it is coming through the Lesser Antilles on the 9th. So there's an initial shot on the 7th, the 8th, and the 9th. The GFS kind of demarcation zone here. This is basically showing that this is very long and drawn out. But look at this. By the 13th, the GFS completely loses our low. So that's pretty puzzling here. The GFS is notorious for doing this. So at this point, I would pretty much bank on the European model here, unless the GFS is catching up on some major wind shear that the European isn't catching up on here. But there it is. It is possible. There is a lot of wind shear out there. But the fact that it literally just collapses it is quite interesting. It's plausible. But here it is. You know, if you take the tail end of the frontal boundary here towards December 15th and 16th, it's not even getting down here into Central America. So this is a solution we'll keep open here. If the GFS is right, it would be much drier here across the Caribbean. Now, initially here across the Lesser Antilles, you would still get a burst of rainfall here from December 7th into the 8th, 9th, and then eventually the 10th. So that's some pretty heavy rain still here through the 10th into the 11th before the GFS shows fizzling. Now, it's interesting, the GFS in the southwestern Gulf is showing something kind of cropping up here towards December 12th and the 13th, and then eventually heading across Florida here. Not to say this will be anything tropical. There's just too much wind shear. It is late in the year, but there it is. So our Caribbean, the big story is going to be the rainfall. So let's flip over to the rainfall here. Here it is, Central America. The big story is that tropical wave traverses across and meets up with the tail end of this frontal boundary. This is the concern. You start to get some rainfall towards the weekend here, especially in eastern Jamaica and Hispaniola here towards the Dominican Republic. But look at this. As we head towards, say, the 10th, the 11th, the 12th, look what's starting to happen here. This is a bit concerning. I am concerned about flooding from Belize all the way down to Nicaragua and Honduras here. Something we're definitely going to have to keep an eye on here in excess of 150 to 200 millimeters. That's getting up there in 6 to as much as 10 inches of rain. So as we head to the Eastern Caribbean here, this is what's going on. There's our tropical wave moving through the Lesser Antilles, upwards of about 80 to 90 millimeters. That's going to get us upwards of 3.5 inches of rain, and that just continues to push westward as we head towards mid-December. And I wanted to make mention up here in the Bahamas, look at the rainfall moving in as we get towards, it stays pretty dry with the exception for Saturday, the 9th and the 10th. Here towards the Turks and Caicos, you could be getting upwards of 50 to 90 millimeters here of rainfall. So watch out for that. Good solid 2 to 3 inches. But look at that in the northern Bahamas as we get towards the middle of the month. That's with that tropical plume coming in to the eastern part of the Gulf and traversing across South Florida. Upwards of 100 to 110 millimeters, 3 to 4 inches. Now, I wanted to take you over here to the Western Pacific for another tropical update here. This is interesting. The GFS is picking up on this. I'll flip over to the European model momentarily, but you can get these kind of storms this time of year. Typhoon season is never truly over. Look at this. So this is towards December 11th, 13th. Look at this. This is showing a devastating typhoon moving through the central Philippines. So this is something that we're going to have to keep an eye on. Let me just back this up here. Not to say this is going to happen, but it is a little bit disturbing. This is in our 10-day outlook here on the GFS. Although I do have to warn you, the GFS is notorious for bringing these phantom storms up. But right around the 13th, 14th, look at that. And then pushing it more towards the north, getting caught up in the westerlies. And another typhoon out here by the 17th. Let's take a look at the European model. So into the Western Pacific, I wanted to touch on this really quickly here. This is tropical typhoon, for that matter, Jasper here. So this is going to be, tropical cyclone transitioning to a typhoon. This could actually affect northeastern part of Australia, heading towards Townsville as we continue to head towards the middle of the month. So yeah, it may weaken back to a cyclone, but it's possible it could re-strengthen again to a typhoon as it heads westward here. So I just wanted to mention that. Here is that system showing up east of the Philippines as we head towards the 13th, 14th, and 15th. European showing a much weaker further south system, still showing up on both models. That is concerning. We'll keep an eye on it here. All right, so our HRRR future radar, let's take a look here. As we continue to go in time, yeah, we have that burst of snowfall here across the Appalachians. Some wet snow across parts of the Ohio Valley, but it's not going to amount to too much, except if you're in the eastern part of West Virginia. That's probably above 2,000 feet. That's where we're going to see, the highest snowfall totals. But as we continue to go in time, you can see a coastal system kind of spinning off the coastline here. You can see as we head towards, this is 11 a.m. on Wednesday morning. We just have some scattered snow showers, but we may get a dusting even as far east here as southeastern New England, and maybe a burst of heavier snow as we head towards southeastern Massachusetts, eastern Rhode Island here, and maybe the eastern tip of Long Island, and then some scattered showers, snow showers behind it here. And as we continue to go out here in time, you can see that system pulls off the U.S. East Coast. Our next system coming in mainly northeast of Cleveland here. This is towards 4 a.m. on Thursday morning. You can see some snow showers developing here, maybe mixing here across eastern part of Michigan. But look at that. It's definitely an overrunning warm front scenario. As usual here in Pittsburgh, mix of rain and snow, maybe some sleet pellets mixing in, and then some snow continuing here into as far south as the Poconos and Catskills of upstate New York towards 1 p.m. on Thursday. If we go across the rest of the country here, there is not a whole lot to talk about here until we get out west here. Look at this system barreling into the west coast. It's just going to seem like an endless parade of systems here as we continue to go through Thursday. Lots of mountain snow, lowering even to some valley locations here. And then here across eastern Canada, we can kind of catch a view here. There's that storm dropping down across Ontario towards the eastern Great Lakes. And I just wanted to show you this little feature here. This is towards 4 p.m. on Wednesday afternoon. We might actually see some banding of the snow try to form here across southeastern Massachusetts. You kind of get that northerly flow, and it sets up a little bit of what seems like ocean effect snow here. And this is what I was talking with you about, Jim from southeastern New England on December 5th here. Look at this ocean effect snowfall. Rare, but it does happen. Here it is showing up on the radar, moving from north to south here across Cape Cod. Light in nature, but enough actually get maybe a dusting. Nice capture there, Jim. And don't go anywhere. I just have more weather here in just a moment. Check out my affiliate here, these awesome maps. Have a look at this.
I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States, and you can also create stunning, digital, professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code, MeteoMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, Look no further than trilogymaps.com. Link in the description down below along with your discount code.
So temperature-wise here, the only cold spot is up here into parts of northern New York and New England, where you're holding into the 20s and 30s for highs. It could be a lot colder for this time of year. Look at the plains. It's just like a raging inferno out here. Even Florida here, Texas, all in the 70s and upper 60s here. The cold air starts to retreat into northern New England, heading northeastward as we head into Thursday. And as we head towards Friday here it is. Look at ahead of this system, spreading 60s all the way up into parts of Ohio, 50s into New York. Look at here in the panhandle of Texas, though. This is where the bottom really starts to drop out in the Rocky Mountains, although it does start to moderate a bit towards Saturday here. Look at this. This is tremendous warmth up here into the northeast for Saturday, but look what's coming behind it, an area of 30s, if you can call that really cold. It's colder than it has been, but by any stretch of the imagination, it could be a lot colder this time of year, even holding into the right around 40 here into the Ohio Valley, eastern Great Lakes, and 50s along the northeast coastline here. 60s trying to push back into Texas here. And as we continue to go in time, you do start to see evidence that we do have some big cold air pools starting to build. So we'll have to see if these start traversing across North America as we head towards the middle of the month. Extended outlook from hometown viewers, Binghamton to Scranton, Upper Susquehanna River Valley, New York, and Pennsylvania. Look at this. So Wednesday through Sunday here, we're starting off seasonably cool, scattered snow showers. For Wednesday, less than an inch into Thursday as well with that clipper type system. It will make it up to 40. So these are not, it's very marginal for any snow accumulation. So you know we're not going to see any major snows. Friday, look at this into Saturday. This is crazy. The sun breaks out Friday, warms things into the 50s. For Saturday as southerly winds really kick in. But look at that for Sunday, upwards of an inch of rain and wind likely. We could see some wraparound wet snow mix in for Sunday night and Monday morning. As always, I want to thank you for joining me for this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. Join me on Facebook at MeteoMark, also at Weather Northeastern, also at Hurricane Northeastern, and also at Susquehanna Weather. Also Twitter at Weather Eastern, and you can visit me at MeteoMark.com. Thank you for joining me. Don't forget to check out my winter weather outlook for 2023-24, and link in the description down below, as well as my affiliate, Trilogy Maps.